The Late Morning Program with Nam Ras Podcast.
Hare Krishna, you're listening to the Late Morning Program with Nam Ras, the #1 Hare Krishna podcast in the world. I'm very honored to have His Grace Adi Purusa Prabhu here on with me. Adi Purusa Prabhu is a dear mentor and friend, senior Vaishnava from New York City. And when I was living at, actually it wasn't the Bhakti Center at the time, but when I was living there at the Sanctuary back when, as in my brahmachari days, and Adi Purusa Prabhu was a great person of inspiration for me. And I have him on today to talk about his projects, his journey in Krishna Consciousness. Thank you so much for joining me, Prabhu.
We're honored to be here.
Okay, maybe we can start with your, before we get into your different projects that you do and all that, maybe we can start on your journey in Krishna Consciousness, where you grew up and how you got in contact with devotees.
Well, where to start? In the beginning, we offer obeisances to Srila Prabhupada and even offer a prayer. Actually, this has become part of my sadhana. There's a prayer written by great-grandfather Bhaktivinoda Thakur.
Let me post that.
And where we're going with this is we acknowledge that we have nothing to say except what we've heard from Guru and Shastra. We give them the credit. And then our aspiration is that anyone who's listening to this, at the end, if you find yourself saying, how wonderful is Srila Prabhupada, how wonderful is Krishna, or even directly saying to Krishna, Lord, you're so wonderful. Krishna, you're so wonderful. Can you say that, Namras?
How wonderful is Srila Prabhupada? How wonderful is Krishna?
Yeah, and even say, Krishna, you're so wonderful.
Krishna, you're so wonderful.
Yeah, that's where we're going with this. So, we talk about ourselves in the context of the experiences that Krishna's given us.
Yes.
And how fortunate we are to be sitting in the mercy of the spiritual master. Well, I noticed that your podcasts are wide open. There's such a spectrum of personalities, and you're so accommodating, allowing people to say whatever they feel Krishna's giving them to say. we want to do this little guru prayer.
So for those of you who don't know, Adi Purusa Prabhu loves to sing these prayers with his guitar, and it's so wonderful. He's so inspiring with the way he does these prayers with his guitar. Please, Prabhu.
I'm going to do them, and let's you and I glorify Krishna together, okay? You and I pray to the spiritual master. When we say Gurudev, we're actually, we have a little murti of Srila Prabhupada that I take care of, and when I say this prayer, looking at the murti, it's practically mystical. Murti is there all the time, but when I start to pray, it seems like it invokes the presence, Srila Prabhupada's presence. So this is a prayer that Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote to his guru. So we're plagiarizing. We're repeating the words that he offered to his guru and offering it to our guru.
Yes.
And everybody knows Nam Ras, when he sings, the heart opens and he has a purifying effect. Nam Ras was mentioning that he stayed with us in the Bhaktivinoda ashram. Is that what Yogi Purush used to call it, the Bhaktivinoda ashram?
No, the
Bhaktivedanta ashram.
Bhaktivedanta ashram, yeah.
Yeah. And he was with us for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Wonderful brahmacharis there, Dowji and Radhabalba, Yogi Purush and Sham. Huh?
Om Rishikesh.
Om Rishikesh. So many nice devotees there. Now, imagine you're in a room with a group of people for like 2.5 hours every single day for a couple of years. every morning, singing, dancing, worshiping, praying, listening to scripture together, laughing. It was a very informal.
A wonderful time.
But sometimes we would do the Nishringa prayers, and if there was a new devotee there or a visitor, at the end of the Nishringa prayers, everybody would, you remember?
Yeah, they'd pounce on him.
Pounce on him, everybody go, "Rah!" You know. I mean, we were really beyond.
Prabhu, we'll have to sing that Nrsinga Day prayers later also, please.
Yeah. Anyway, we're going to offer the prayer. We're going to pray to Srila Prabhupada. Can you hear that guitar okay?
I can hear it, yeah.
Gurudev, Prabhupada. Gurudev, with a drop of your mercy. Gurudev. Gurudev, with a drop of your mercy. Make this servant always abide. I like that word abide. It means like hang in there, you know. Make this servant always abide. Grant me strength in adversity. Cool my soul that burns with pride. Sing it with me, brother. Gurudev, with a drop of your mercy. Make this servant always abide. Grant me strength in adversity. Cool my soul that burns with pride. That's the first little prayer. Gurudev, in Krishna's creation, let me be a vessel of your peace. Chanting the holy name in jubilation. Only then will all my offenses cease. Come on, sing with me.
Gurudev,
in Krishna's creation, let me be a vessel of your peace. Chanting the holy name
in jubilation.
Only then will all my offenses cease.
Prabhupada.
One more little prayer. Gurudev, I'm falling and low. Whoa. Without your grace, useless am I. Waves of tears would surely flow. Without your love, I soon would die. Go with me.
Gurudev,
I'm falling and low. Without your grace, useless am I. Waves of tears would surely flow. Without your love, I soon would die. Okay, you know this verse by heart, I'm sure. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
That's great.
So we're just invoking auspiciousness by praying to the spiritual master. We don't have anything to say except what we heard from Guru and Shastra. And Krishna's given us some wonderful experiences. So you're asking about life that Krishna's given me experiences. I'm from here in New York. All four of my grandparents are from Italy. So my parents were born in this country, and I'm just coming as a second generation Italian American New Yorker. We have come from a Catholic background. So I went to Catholic school.
Were you born and raised in New York?
I was born in the Bronx.
Oh, wow.
Partly through grammar school, we moved out to Long Island, to the South Shore of Freeport, Long Island. And then I went to high school in Brooklyn, and I went to Manhattan College. So I'm here in the heart of the beast for my life before Krishna Consciousness.
Right. So you said you went to Catholic school and then...
Catholic school, yeah. So I had a little bit of understanding of godliness by Krishna's grace. There was, Krishna gives you experiences like a flashback where he helps you remember things that happened in your early life based on experiences. We were invited to go speak at a university here in Manhattan. It was kind of a surprise. This man called up, Adi, you're supposed to be here speaking at the university. What are you doing? Where are you? Get over here. I was like, I didn't know. I didn't know. Nobody told. So I went over there, got on my bicycle, ran over there. It was a room full of Muslim graduate students. I told you this story, right?
No.
No? A room full of Muslim graduate students.
Right.
And they all looked like this. Very unhappy. I don't know what happened before. All the girls had the headscarf on. Obviously intelligent, kind of high class people, but in a really bad mood. And so I looked in that room. I had to go through security and everything to get into the building and up to the floor. And I looked in the room and I was like, whoa, I'm not going in there. I don't know what's happening in there. It looks like somebody just died. I just kind of chickened out. And when I went to leave, the man on the stage was like, oh, Adi's here. Adi, come on up on the stage. Come on, here he is. Okay, come on. I was, oh my God. So I went up on the stage. He introduced me. He handed me the microphone. And he said, all right, you have 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
What do you say in 5 minutes? Oh my God. I don't even know who are these people? He said, this is the postgraduate. These are the medical students. These are the law students, the graduate students. Well, I was like, okay. I looked at them, they looked at me. My mind is completely blank, right? So I said, well, I have to tell you honestly, I have absolutely no idea what to say to you. So they started laughing at me. I look so stupid. The professors at the school they prepare for 25 years and they know exactly what they're going to say. And here's this fool on the stage with the microphone, and he says he doesn't know what to say. So I look pretty stupid, and they're laughing. So I said, well, I'm telling you the truth. I really don't know what to say, but I'm going to make a prayer that God will show me what to say. Right? Seems like a good move, right?
Yeah.
Like cover my embarrassment. So they responded like this, which kind of shocked me. It was kind of positive, but also shocking. Yes. Wow. Well, that was kind of positive. We only want to say what God wants to say. Yes. I said, who are these people? We only want to hear what God wants to say, right? Yes. I said to myself, if I say the wrong thing, these people are going to throw me right out the window. This is a very responsive group of people here. Okay, Krishna, save me. I don't know what to say. You were asking about this helped me remember my childhood. So I said, well, so you guys are obviously involved with higher education. Maybe I could share with you my experience with the educational system. Okay, so I was expelled, and they burst out laughing because expelled is kind of like a electric word in a highly competitive academic atmosphere. I was expelled, and they started laughing from kindergarten. You asked me about the early days there.
Yeah.
I was expelled from kindergarten, and they really started laughing. After 2 days, and they were laughing so hard, they were like crying and punching each other. It went from like laughing at me to screaming at me to like just outright prolonged laughter to the point where I had to say, hello, come on, can you calm down? I only have 4 minutes left. Okay, so you go to kindergarten, you go to school, you're a child, you're a student, you're a kid, you don't know anything, right? And the teacher is going to tell you what to do. The school system is designed to like train you up to be a human being in society, right? They're supposed to tell you how the world works, how you interact with the world. So the teachers have this teacher voice. Okay, children, we're going to play a game. The name of the game is musical chairs. You know this game, Namras? Musical chairs.
Musical chairs, yes.
25 children, 24 chairs. Teacher plays the piano.
Yes.
When she stops, everybody fights for the chairs. Now, this was kindergarten, so I was living in the Bronx, right? This is in a bad neighborhood in the Bronx. And kindergarten children are like barbarians, you know. They don't have very highly developed social graces. So you tell them to fight for the chairs, and it's like a license to kill. The music stops, chairs are thrown around, kids are thrown around, clothing is ripped, screaming, yelling, punching. It was just like horrible, really horrible. And then it happens again, 25, 24, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, music and a fight, music and a fight, music, and it gets more and more and more intense because the more aggressive children are remaining in the fight and the more gentle children are eliminated. So it got down to 2 children and 1 chair. And I had actually covered my hands like this on my face. I was a little embarrassed to tell them. I said, no, I'm 74 years old. So this happened, 6.5 decades ago, 67 years ago.
Wow.
I can still see the face of the little girl I pushed out of the way to get the last chair. They thought that was hilarious. They were laughing, and the teacher was going, you won, you won. I was thinking, I won what? What did I win? What are they doing? I can't believe I just did that. What are they teaching us in the school, right? I was like, that was a long time ago, and I can still remember what it was like to be a kindergarten student. So the next day, the teacher made her announcement. Okay, we're going to play musical chairs. I just stood up. I said, wait a minute. I can't do this again. Let's do something else. Now the poor teacher, she has to keep 25 children busy for 5 hours. You try that. You have to have a plan, and we're going to do this, and it's going to take 15 minutes, and then we're going to do this. So you tell some kid says, let's not do this. She looks at me like dirt. Kid, get your chair. Everybody get your chair. Get your chair. I said, no. She said, get your chair. I said, no. Really loud, So that everybody's looking at us because this kid yelling at the teacher. And then she gets her teacher voice on. Okay, children, this is what we do. When somebody won't do what the teacher says to do, you go sit in the corner, go put your face over there. You don't have to play, get out of here. I was like, cool, I didn't have to do it. I was sitting over in the corner. Then I hear my friend Robert. I don't want to play this game either. So Robert comes over to the corner and 2 of us are like, yeah, we don't have to do it, Then we start hearing the other children. We don't want to play this game. We don't want to play this game. We don't want to play this game. The whole class comes over to the corner and the teacher's going, children, wait a minute. I'm the teacher. Come back here. She's like, screaming at us. And we're all in the corner, like huddled together like a bunch of little baby chicks. And this is like the 3rd thing that happened between me and that teacher in 2 days. So she just comes over to the corner, grabs me by the arm, out of the classroom, down to the principal's office. They called my mother, my poor mother, and I got it. The next day, they wouldn't let me back in the building. I got thrown out of school in kindergarten. Your battery's running low. Richard, battery's running low.
Also, probably your audio and your video is not syncing. Like it's
audio and video is not syncing.
It's a little delayed.
Oh gosh.
I mean, we can hear you perfectly, but it's when you're like the video is like a little bit behind.
The video is behind the audio. Our tech support is here on the scene, playing with something. Pulling out a gizmo. Give us a boost. Okay, so anyway, the point is, I'm talking to these Muslim students.
Yeah.
and telling them that, I got thrown out of school, which they thought was hilarious. And kind of lost my train of thought there. How this ties into what it was like being a kid here in the Bronx. So I had to go to Catholic school.
Oh, it's syncing now. You're perfect now.
So I had to go to Catholic school. Now,
Right.
I remember, you're talking about spiritual life. I remember the Catholic nun. I can remember sitting in first grade, and this girl was so sincere and so overjoyed to tell us about God. She told us about Adam and Eve. You know that story?
Yeah.
And they disobeyed the guideline that the Lord gave, and then they were exiled from the garden, and about Noah, and about stories like Daniel in the lion's den, how he was protected, even though they almost sent him to be executed by lions, and the Lord pacified the lions so he wasn't harmed. So there was a lot of godliness that I heard at a very early age.
Yeah.
I wasn't necessarily the most dedicated, like a devotee, religious person, but I heard about God, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember, fast forward a little bit, I remember being about 12 years old, and I had an elder cousin who entered the convent. Her name was Carmel, and she took initiation. And so I went to visit her on Staten Island in this convent, beautiful convent. And I was shocked to see my cousin, who was a beautiful girl, with the, what do you call that thing on the headpiece, the veil?
Like what nuns wear?
Like what nuns wear, yeah.
Yeah.
The habit. I was shocked to see her dressed up like a nun,
Yeah.
And I was thinking, what are you doing? I said to her, what are you doing? I had some idea of like that there was suffering in the world. You can't live in New York without seeing the fact that there are poor people. The civil rights movement was going on. Radha Swami was quite moved by that idea, and that there's inequality, that there's, addicted people and quarrel in the families, and it's Kali Yuga, so it's full blown, really madness.
Yeah.
And so I said to her, what are you doing in a convent? I mean, if you want to do some good for God, why don't you do like social work?
Right.
And she was very gentle and humble, and how she explained to me, she said, well, each of us might be called to do different things for the Lord. I'm called to this style of life and this prayer and this seclusion, but I will also become a teacher and teach people about God. And I believe that that's a good thing. And that's what I feel God is asking me to do. He might be asking you to do something else. So in my life, I became a social worker before I came to Krishna Consciousness. When I was an undergraduate, I worked in an orphanage in the South Bronx.
Oh, wow.
Catholic Charities. They had 300 children living there. And I took care of 15 boys, 8, 9, 10, 11 years old, from the time they came home from school till the time they went to bed at night at 9 o'clock. So I had 6 hours a day with 15 boys. And I was going to college full time at the time.
Wow.
It was pretty wild. And these kids, I mean, all the children have parents somewhere. But the parents are alcoholic, or they're in prison, or they're in a psychiatric facility, or they're heroin addicted, or they're abusive, or they're, broken, situations. So a lot of these kids came from very difficult backgrounds, difficult experiences. And I was trying to do something positive in their life, and it was really moving. I remember the first day I went into that group home, and one of the kids came over and he held onto my arm. He said, "Are you taking care of us? Are you taking care of us?" Like that. And I can remember, we always feed them dinner and get them teeth brushed and get in their pajamas and tuck them in at night and stuff, and keep them from killing each other, literally. Put the knife down, I mean, really, it was pretty intense. But I remember, that my perception, the experience that Krishna gave me there was that children really need, you're a father, they really are grateful to have parents and to have an adult in the room. Because in one level, they understand my senses and mind are out of control. And this other person is helping me, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I can remember watching television with them. And these are boys, 8 years old, 9 years old, 10. They're sitting there. One is holding onto my shirt. One is holding onto my back. One is holding my hand. They're like there. They're not looking at me or talking, but they're holding on to the adult. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's very profound to see how children need that. I was watching one video clip. Father Joseph has a young son, and I was over at the church over here, and his son was watching this thing on the internet, and they're asking this little girl, "How does the cow go?" And the little girl goes, "Moo, moo, moo." "How does the horsey go?" "How does the dog go?" "Woof, woof, woof." "How does the cat go?" "Meow, meow, meow." "How does your mother go?" "No, no, 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 no."
Oh my gosh.
That the parents are actually helping the child, when with the uncontrolled senses,
Yeah.
I mean, little children, they're actually like barbarians,
Yeah, they are. Agreed.
You
100%.
don't realize it until you're with them, So these kids were like that. And I remember they had their perspective on the world. And there was a thing called Confraternity of Christian Doctrine, which was like once a week they had to have a religious class, right? Now, usually they had a nun give that part. And one day there was no nun, and they asked me to give the religious class to these kids, right? So I was thinking, what do I know about religion? Okay, do unto others. You ever hear that?
No. Oh, do unto others. Yeah, yeah.
As you would have others do unto you,
Yes.
right? I said, I can't lose with that. That's pretty good, So I said to them, okay, finish this sentence. Do unto others. John Christie, what do you think? Do unto others and then cut out. I said, no. Anybody else? Raphael, what do you think? He goes, do unto others before they do unto you. These are like, ghetto kids, they were like, they came from, do unto others before they do unto you. So it was like, I didn't have the philosophy, or the faith to actually understand how important it was to instill religious faith in young people at that point. And now I was studying psychology. So the chairman of the department, Dr. Sumo, he told us, you are studying in a book, schizophrenia, catatonia. He said, these are words and they're descriptions. But now while you're undergraduates, you should go and work in the psychiatric facility. Get a job in the lowest capacity, the nurse's aide. So you're on the ward. So you're in there with the patients. So you can look into the eyes and the heart of somebody who's experiencing schizophrenia. So it's not just a word in the book. So my friend Dennis and I, we went to Bellevue Hospital. You know Bellevue Hospital here?
Yeah.
Now, the 150,000 employees at Bellevue Hospital, just to give you an idea of the scale of it. It's a massive complex. They have roads under the street that go from building to building, And since we were college students, see, part of the Bellevue Hospital is the New York NYU Medical Center and the hospital medical, and then part of it is a psychiatric facility. And part of the psychiatric facility is called the psychiatric prison wards. People that have committed some violent, horrible crime that are too crazy to keep in the Manhattan House of Detention for Men, too crazy to keep in jail, they send them to the psychiatric prison wards in Bellevue Hospital, right? So they put us on the psycho prison ward, Now, you have to imagine this. An L-shaped room, just about the same size as the temple room in the Bhakti Center, right?
Right.
70 men in that room.
Oh my gosh.
A bed. Now, not just 70 ordinary people, 70 people with psychiatric problems, 70 criminally insane people in one room. You want to talk about being, on the front lines, I mean, there are some things that I saw happen there that I've never told anybody else, because it just wouldn't edify anybody to even hear about it. You would just never forget, And I was in there for 8 hours a day, locked in that room. There were prison guards, and there was the hospital staff, and then there were the patients. The hospital staff called them patients. The prison guards called them inmates. I think I identified more with the inmates than with the hospital staff, with prison guards. But, we had a lot of interactions and listening to their stories and talking to them. And, that was working with the children in the orphanage, working with the psycho prison ward. These are experiences that Krishna gave me, okay?
Yeah.
These are experiences that Krishna gave me. I want to make that clear. It's not just Adi did this, Adi did that. Then I got an offer to work in a therapeutic residential treatment center up in Yonkers for heroin-addicted teenagers coming right in off the street. Cold turkey withdrawal and encounter groups yelling and screaming. And I was like a very, very intense experience. In one sense, more intense than the psychiatric prison ward. And then my next employment I had, by Krishna's arrangement, I got an offer to work as a counselor, heroin addiction counselor. I had a caseload of 110 patients. It's a methadone clinic.
Yeah.
You know what a Staten Island ferry looks like?
Yeah.
So they gave us an old Staten Island ferry, and we put it on Pier 13 near Christopher Street, 13th Street in the West Village. And we had 1,000 heroin addicts a day coming on and off that boat. And that was in the early 70s.
Wow.
So I was in the orphanage. I was in the psychiatric prison ward. I was in the therapeutic community with heroin addiction teenagers. And then I was a counselor in New York City's methadone maintenance. I mean, I'm telling you, the experiences that Krishna gave me of people suffering.
Like this was before you became
I became
a devotee. So what was your conception of suffering and the world? And
well, I was thinking, that a good thing, a godly person will do something to help people in suffering and help people that are orphans or help people that are heroin addicts, And with all the training and facility and drugs and, paperwork and everything, I was seeing people suffering, and I was thinking, none of these programs actually somehow or other are really, really getting to the root of the problem. I can understand that. It was 6 years in this social work, including the years in the undergraduate working with the orphanage kid, suffering and an attempt to help people that are suffering. So my brains were bleached out. I was just really, really, I had to process all these experiences.
wow.
And I took a year off work. And my old roommate's uncle had a house on an island 4 miles off the coast. Gosh. Excuse me 1 second.
No problem.
And Nan, we're doing a broadcast right now. I'll talk to you later, okay? All right.
Okay. Hare Krishna.
4 miles off the coast of where?
Off the coast of Long Island.
Okay.
So I went out there as a caretaker for his house. He was an art dealer, and he would travel around the world to Australia and South America, but he'd be gone for like 6-7 months at a time. So he had this gorgeous house right on the Great South Bay, and on the other side was the ocean. And I lived there by myself. And I was trying to process all the experiences that Krishna gave me. And I was praying, I was reading the Bible, and in that house, God bless you, in the bathroom, there was a stack of comic books. So in the course of the first few months there, I'd read all the comic books, but in that stack of comic books, there were 2 BTG magazines.
Wow.
Which I did not read. I read all the comic books, But when I ran out of all the comic books, I opened one of the BTG magazines. And I started to read what Srila Prabhupada had to say and what the devotees had to say. And because I was really seeking the solution to suffering, the understanding of what the problem is, Krishna gave me access to something of wisdom, right?
Yeah.
So I also found the Perfection of Yoga book. He had a massive library in that house. And I found the Perfection of Yoga, and I read that again and again. I started chanting.
Just from reading the book, you started chanting.
Yeah, the mantra was in there. I started offering, I was cooking every day, baking bread and offering it to Krishna. I started, of course, I was following the principles. So I've been reading without meeting a devotee for months, right?
Yeah.
And at one point it occurred to me, I wonder if there's other people doing this, And I looked in the back of the Perfection of Yoga, and there was a Brooklyn Temple address. So this was in the winter, and there's no roads out on that island. Fire Island is like 50 miles long, but only about a couple hundred yards wide. It's like a barrier reef 4 miles off the coast of Long Island. And it has wonderful, beautiful, pristine white beaches and summer houses out there. But in the winter, nobody's out there. So I was in a town called Oakleyville, and we had 5 houses. I was by myself, really.
Yeah.
Reading Prabhupada's books. So I wanted to go to the Brooklyn Temple. I had to walk about 25 miles along the beach to the end of the island where there's a bridge at Robert Moses State Park to go to Long Island. And I hitchhiked I stayed at a friend's house in the Bronx at night. And I called up the temple, and I said, do you have a program? They said, oh, yes, the morning program, 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock in the morning? Yeah. So I got on the subway at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I went down to the temple was in Henry Street in Brooklyn.
Right.
You ever in that building?
No, I've never been there.
Wonderful. Radha Govinda.
Was Henry Street before 55th Street?
Yes.
Okay. So
I got out of the subway. I didn't know where the temple was. And I waved down a police car, and I said, can you tell me where the Hare Krishna temple is? They said, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. I said, yeah, well, they have this, some kind of teaching program or meditation or something now. They said, you want to go to the Hare Krishna temple? I said, yeah. They said, all right, get in. The police drove me right to the temple.
Oh my goodness. That's amazing.
I got to the front door, and a Mataji in a sari with tilak came out. Oh, Haribo Poo, just in time, but Mangal Artik. I was like, what'd she say? He said, Haribo, it's time for Mangal Artik. I didn't know what Mangal Artik, I don't know what Haribo was. I never saw anybody in a sari before, And there's all these devotees coming down the stairs. There were at least 200 devotees in that temple room for Mangal Artik at 4 o'clock in the morning, 1973.
Wow.
That's how the temples were in the old days. Do you believe in God? Yes. Do you believe in serving God? Yes. Why don't you move in? Okay. But you have to be at Mangal Artik at 4 o'clock. Then there's Japa, and then there's Kirtan. I was blown away. I got into that room. The lights went out. Everybody offered obeisances. Radha Govinda opened up. And I was like, what is this? I had no idea. No idea, right? Everybody chanting japa right up until the big kirtan, smoking kirtan. Vidayananda Maharaj gave class that day.
Oh, wow.
And there was japa. They gave me beads. And I was like, this is outrageous that these people come together to do this. And they sing and they chant. And I'd been chanting, and I thought, this is wonderful, wonderful. And then Prasadam. They had rows of devotees sitting on the floor and wagons going up and down serving Prasadam. I remember the devotee next to me gave me a gulab jamun. The devotee behind me gave me a rascal. The devotee on the other side gave me a ladu, And I was like, what is it? They're giving me food? What? They give me the food off their plate. What is this? I couldn't figure it out. But that was the spirit. Here's a new guy. Give him Prasadam. Give up your ladu, right? Imagine that, right?
Yeah.
So then, after breakfast, what happens?
Sankirtan.
Huh?
Sankirtan?
they go out.
Yeah.
They go out for Harinam, they go out for book distribution, they do a book table. You know, everybody goes out. Everybody. They turn off the heat, they turn off the lights, they lock the door, and you can't come back till 5 o'clock. And I said to myself, no. I'm not doing this going out proselytizing stuff. I like the temple, but I don't want to do any of this going out preaching, you know?
Yeah.
They used to give every devotee, I think, 35 cents because the subway was 35 cents. Prasad Swami told me they would give everybody 35 cents, but they would give me 70 cents because I would be out there for 6-7 hours and I wouldn't collect enough to come back unless they gave me it twice as much as everybody. they only gave you one-way subway fare to go out usually. But then I found I was visiting some people that I knew in upstate New York. They had a little farm hippie commune, and I saw a BTG with the picture of the cows and the farm in New Vrindavan, and I thought that I can relate to. I should go visit this place.
But you were a city boy.
Yeah.
So you felt like you could relate more with the rural.
I didn't want to do the proselytizing.
Oh yeah, gotcha.
City temple means you go out.
Right.
Farm means you stay there and wait till people come there and then preach to them.
Yes.
That sounds like a great idea. I can relate to that.
Right.
Plus, you know, the countryside, back to the earth, you know. So I hitchhiked to New Vrindavan. I walked across the George Washington Bridge. You know, I had long hair, you know, and I hitchhiked. And I didn't even know, I didn't have a map. People would pick me up. I'd say, where are you going? West Virginia. So I thought, we'll go west, you know. I didn't really have a plan. I went all the way across Pennsylvania hitchhiking. And the last hitchhike I got, I told him, I want to go to a Hare Krishna farm in West Virginia. So I know where that is. It was late at night. So he said, stay at my house tonight. I'll drive you there tomorrow. It was springtime. There was a huge thunderstorm that night. We were up in his little mountain cabin looking at this thunderstorm. And the next day, he drove me right to New Vrindavan, right to the farm, right?
Amazing.
And I never got out to Route 250 for the next 4 years. They brought me up to the Vrindavan farm where Radhanath Swami was, Varshana Swami, Chandramali Swami, Nityo. You know, I mean, there were 30 brahmacharis living up at that house, 2 miles up the hill, away from any Matajis or children or anything, you know.
Yeah.
And it was a really intense morning program. Everybody was Radhanath Swami's sterling influence. Everybody was in that temple room by 2:30 in the morning.
That's 2 hours before normal Mangala Arati.
We had to finish your rounds before Mangala Arati, right? Everybody. And if somebody came at 2:35, everybody would look at him like, what's wrong with you? You're breaking ranks. You're cheapening the standard. This is what we do. Radhanath Swami would sit there in one spot and chant 16 rounds. He used to do this. I don't know what that means, but he wouldn't move. The brahmacharis are stampeding, walking back and forth, chanting, jumping up and down, chanting, standing in a circle, chanting, hot job. You know, it was like really intense. I just remember Maharaj, he would just sit there in one spot, didn't open his eyes. For some reason, the temple president of the Brahmachari ashram, he felt that every day, right before the curtains opened, somebody should sweep the floor. And you got this little temple room with 30 people running back and forth. And my service with a hand broom was to sweep the floor, sweep it away from the altar, you know.
Yeah.
Everybody would move out of my way. Radhanath Swami, he was completely oblivious to my existence. You know, he was just deep in the holy name, you know.
Yeah.
I remember that. And he is very, very wonderful, serious devotee. So I lived at New Vrindavan. I got first, sometimes I'm tempted to say, I got initiated. I can't bear it when I say that. I feel like Srila Prabhupada accepted me as his disciple. I didn't get initiated. Srila Prabhupada kindly, mercifully accepted me as disciple in 1974.
Did you see him there when he came?
Yes.
Tell us about
Actually,
that.
I had, when I went to New Vrindavan, I thought Prabhupada will be there, and I'll tell him, Prabhupada, I want to be your servant, and I'll be his servant, and I'll be right with him. And everybody else, they probably don't know that the trick is to be the servant and be close to the guru. I didn't know everybody knew that. I didn't know Prabhupada wasn't there, but he came. And in New Vrindavan, I don't really, people really understand how expansive it is. Even some devotees came from Atlanta that I met on Sankirtana, and they asked me to show them around. We drove within New Vrindavan for 4.5 hours.
Wow.
You see the temple, you see Prabhupada's palace, you see the lakes. You don't know. I was, taking care of the fences and the cows and the pastures, and there's over this valley and on the next ridge and over this way and down this valley over here. There's so much going. There's so much there.
How many
it's
acres?
Really, what?
How many acres is it?
Well, it was 5,000 acres. I think over the last few years they've been selling stuff off and stuff, but it's huge. Miles and miles and miles. And when I worked the pastures, you're back in those woods. You don't even know. You can't see anything. Umbrish told me to fix this fence line. It's a half a mile around this way, 2 miles across the back over there by the forest, another half a mile around here, and 1.5 miles this way and around by this and the fence line. That's one pasture.
My gosh.
So we had a lot of wonderful experiences. I got second initiation there. We were milking the cows by hand. I was working with the oxen for 4 years there. And when Prabhupada came, since I was basically useless, and Prabhupada's house was the best house we had. We had just purchased this one house, and it was 2 miles back in the forest away from other things. And all kinds of people would, we had a lot of nice neighbors, but we had some real rowdy, redneck, hillbilly people who come through there with a pickup truck shooting shotguns in the air in the middle of the night. One time a motorcycle gang came and broke into the temple in the middle of the morning program. A lot of stories. So when Prabhupada
you were there for that?
Oh yeah. Well, I was there right after that, but I was there when. I'll tell you this other thing about Prabhupada. How much time do we have?
Like 50 minutes.
Really?
Yeah. We got a lot of time. This is a long form podcast. Yeah.
The place where Prabhupada was staying was remote, but the dirt road was right there, and sometimes these people would come through. So my service when Prabhupada was there was to stand in front of his house. They gave me a shotgun and a .38 pistol. I was standing in front of Prabhupada's house to guard Prabhupada. Right now, Prabhupada's protecting us. It's ridiculous for me to think about it. And in those days, it was 1974. Prabhupada had already been preaching. We had so many hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of disciples. You didn't actually get to talk to Prabhupada personally too much. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He would preach and he would give class in the temple, and there were darshans, but one-on-one, you were just a rank and file devotee, maybe a GBC member or a sannyasi or a temple president would actually, be able to actually speak to Prabhupada. You weren't even allowed to. Only the temple president in those days was allowed to write to Prabhupada once a week or once a month. You couldn't even write a letter, So Prabhupada was like, up there. You know what I mean? So I'm out front of his house, and at about 1 o'clock in the morning, the light would go on in Prabhupada's bedroom. And then after a while, I'd hear him dictating into the dictaphone because he was translating Srimad Bhagavatam,
Yeah.
And when I first heard his voice, I thought, oh, Prabhupada's listening to a Prabhupada tape. Oh, no, that's Prabhupada. My God, that's Prabhupada. The window was up high. I wasn't able to look in the window. So I'm standing in front of the house. It started to rain a little bit. So the house was on the road, and then there was a driveway going down, and under the house there was a garage. So I went down, opened up the garage door, blah, 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 makes noise. And then I was standing like inside the garage doing my guard duty. And I didn't know Prabhupada could come down through the house into the garage, right? He had these little corduroy slippers, very quiet, So I'm standing there with my shotgun. And all of a sudden, Prabhupada, oh my God, Prabhupada. I go through obeisances. I was like, Prabhupada, how can I serve you? What do you say? I mean, what do you say to Prabhupada? I said, how can I serve you? I was so shocked. Here he is right 2 inches from me.
He came to the garage.
He came down from the house into the garage.
Yeah.
Because he heard the noise, I guess. Pretty interesting that he broke up his meditation on Srimad Bhagavatam to come down there. Maybe he's just curious or whatever. So I asked him, how can I serve you? And Prabhupada was like a mountain. I saw a video clip. Somebody was trying to fast forward a video clip. And there were all these, it was in India, and all these people were around Prabhupada. And when everything's fast forward, you see everybody going, and Prabhupada was just like this.
Yeah, right.
So that I was like, and he was like, I said, Prabhupada, how can I serve you? He went like this. You know how he did that smack with the lip?
Yeah.
You can go where I won't go.
Wow.
Now, Prabhupada had just flown from Tokyo to San Francisco, to Los Angeles, to Dallas, to Chicago, right? To New Orleans, to New York. He'd come to Pittsburgh, come to Vrindavan, go back to New York, fly to London, go to India. He was flying all over the world. Now, I had hitchhiked to Vrindavan, and at that point, I didn't even have 2 boots that matched. I had a red one and a black one, tied on with baling twine. I didn't have any money. I'd lost my ID, right? I didn't really have any desire to go anywhere or any means to go anywhere. He's traveling all around the world, and he said, you can go where I won't go. So I said, Prabhupada, where won't you go? To the future. To the future. What's that? You want me to build a time machine? He wants me to go to the future? That was 50 years ago. He says, and how you treat the people there, you show them how Krishna loves them. So I just closed my eyes. I don't know what he's talking about, And when I opened my eyes, he had left. He went back. He just quietly left. You can go where I won't go, to the future. And how you treat the people there, you show them how Krishna loves them. Now, this is an instruction for all of us, really.
Right.
And you're following. You're going where he won't go. You're here talking to this low-life person here, trying to squeak out some shred of Krishna consciousness from my pea brain.
Amazing what you're saying.
Here it is 50 years later. And what's my service? I'm here in Tompkins Square Park feeding the homeless, right?
Wow.
Now, I was initiated in 1974. I've been with Prabhupada for 50 years. But for the last 24 years, my service, among other things, is to distribute Krishna's Prasadam to the homeless, right?
Mm.
For 24 years, we haven't missed a day. That is a flat-out Krishna miracle. We've been through the blackout. We've been through Hurricane Sandy. We've been through the 9/11. We went through Y2K. We went through the COVID epidemic. We're out there, I mean, it's just so radical. The whole thing of like, I don't know, it's very sweet. You can show some pictures in a minute.
Sure.
But the thing is, people are getting prasadam. People are smiling. People are going out, volunteering their time to give prasadam. Okay, you can start to flip through some of those pictures.
So what time is this done every day?
This is a Muslim student there with, what time is what?
What time do you serve out this?
9:30 in the morning, Tompkins Square Park. They can call me. You can put up the Instagram so they can look at the pictures themselves. Flip through some pictures. We'll get an idea of this. So that's a weird picture. It's me. Prasadam, banana bread. Serve out khichdi and banana bread and jasmine tea with lemon and salad. And a lot of these people you see they're serving are guests, because we're spending $10,000 a month to distribute Krishna's Prasadam. So every month I have to raise $10,000. Little thing like that, part of it. I put in 15 hours a day, 7 days a week to keep this program going. I do the night shift over on our guests. We have guest rooms. And people are guests. And then we tell them about this. And a lot of them say, oh, I want to do that. I'll help. And they come out, they volunteer. They tell them there's a line of people waiting. This is Angel. He's getting initiated by Radhanath Swami. He's been helping us for about 3 years now. That's Ananda Vihari's daughter, distributing prasadam to the pigeons.
Do the same people come every day?
Some people come again and again. There's always new people. We make what's that?
Shirts. What are these shirts?
The shirt says, all you need is love.
Mm-hmm.
When people come as volunteers, we give them one of those shirts. It says, all you need is love. And we tell them, even if you can heal the sick, even if you can speak with the tongues of men and angels, even if you can convert the multitude, even if you can raise the dead, Scripture says, if it's done without love, it's useless. Without love for God. Just like Patram Pushram Pulam. Offer me something with love, and I will accept it. So we tell the people that are volunteers, stir this, load this. This is salad.
Wow.
Yeah.
Opulent.
Yeah. A lot of people that come out there and they see that we're distributing, they say, you didn't mean just give this to them? You just give it for free? You just give this to the people? And a lot of our guests say, hey, this is the best food in all of New York City. Because people come and stay in the guest program from all over the place.
So I see cake and salad. What else? What else is there?
Khichdi and a drink.
Okay. And a drink. Amazing. So you've been doing this for 24 years?
Yeah. Prabhupada told me, if you want to please me, serve Kirtanananda. So Radhanath Swami and I were, for the first 25 years of working with Vrindavan, he's our authority, and but he's the one who asked me, I want you to distribute the prasadam for the homeless. And I was like, wait a minute. I want to do college preaching with feeding the homeless. I don't have a vehicle. I don't know how to cook. I don't have any money. How am I supposed to do that? And that night I was going to take rest, and I was really voicing my anxiety to Krishna.
Mm-hmm.
And Krishna seemed to say to me, don't be ridiculous. I'm floating the planets in space. I can support a band distributing prasadam to a couple hundred people. It's no big deal. Krishna seemed to be telling me that, Mm-hmm. And then the next day I went down to the restaurant. You see this little girl here? Oh, back.
Yeah.
Her name is Madison. She's 5 years old. She's about 2 feet tall. Little Korean girl. Her father would come out and help and volunteer. And one day he said to me, can I bring my daughter? I said, of course, but don't just bring her. Explain to her what we're doing. Explain to her why we're doing, and invite her to come and see if she chooses to come. So she came out. She was distributing prasadam. Then she came out again, and I got a little mischievous, and I said, hey, Madison, why do you come out here? How old are your kids?
4 and 2.
You can bring them out. We've had kids that age come out. They get it. Somehow or other, we tell the children service. Sometimes they don't have that word in their vocabulary. But when they see they can give something to somebody, they just scamper all over the place. So I said to Madison, why do you come out here? And she looked at me. we're trying to show people that God loves them. 5 years old, right?
Oh my gosh.
She was trying to convince me. We're trying to show people. She was explaining it to me. We're
Yeah.
trying to show people that God loves them. Oh, okay. Wow. Huh?
Amazing.
Yeah, it's sweet. So Krishna gives intelligence, and the people love seeing the children serving. It just knocks them out, you know.
Yeah.
And you'd think maybe something like this would be, you know, depressing or something like that, but it's actually extremely sweet. Lots of love going on. There's Madison again.
Amazing. And so this program is supported by your
Guest rooms.
your guest rooms that you have in New York City, in Manhattan. Amazing. And also probably some of this boga like donated by like Trader Joe. I know when I was living in the
Trader
ashram.
Joe doesn't donate anymore to us. City Harvest took over everything.
What's City Harvest?
It's kind of like they've turned charity into a business, you know, and they have these big trucks and we get everything, you know.
Oh,
It's
my
okay.
God.
We still go. Of course, one of the duties of the Brahmins is to ask people for donations.
Yeah.
Go back one space there. This little girl here, her father works for the Executive General of the United Nations in Geneva, Switzerland. And that blonde lady behind there, she's a guest from the guest program coming out to help.
Wow.
And that guy with the mask on, that's her brother. His father is also works with the.
So just random people who come as guests to this the guest house that you have, you
people
tell
come
them
from everywhere. They just, 80 million people came to visit New York City last year.
wow.
Now, in Mayapur, it says here, your remote desktop service session ended because the remote computer didn't receive.
I think it's okay. We
okay?
can still hear you and everything, so we're good.
Okay. Yeah, people come from all over the place. They come to visit. And you see that girl? She's a guest.
Yeah.
Serving. She's completely lit up, by devotional service.
Right.
Krishna gives them his love flowing through them. And they're just remarkable. Well, in Mayapur, Prabhupada made a temple and a guest house.
Yes.
In Juhu, he made a temple and a guest house. In Vrindavan, he made a temple and a guest house. Right?
Yeah.
Now, here we are in New York. Probably the most inhospitable place for devotees. It'd be easier to colonize Mars than it would be for devotees to live in the East Village, right?
Yeah.
But there's no guest house.
Right.
So Krishna showed me that this is one possible way that we can serve. And I read one of the Vyas Puj homage. Can they see those pictures? Because there's a big thing in front of them.
Yeah, they can see it.
When you look at 6 pictures at once, you can't see very much.
Okay.
When you look at one at a time, they might actually be able to see some detail.
Right. Oh, I know him.
Just click on any one of them and then the thing comes up, right?
Right.
And one thing is I can't see the pictures, so I can't say anything about them.
You can't see the pictures?
No, there's a square in front of it.
Can you close that square? I think that's maybe the alert that you were just reading out earlier.
Let me see if I can. I'm going to try. Yeah. Okay. And people come and they're getting the mercy. One manager person from ISKCON came and he saw the big line of people and he said, Prabhu, how many of these people are benefiting? I said, they're all benefiting. They're getting Krishna's mercy. Prasadam is beneficial. I mean, they're not paying anything. They're not doing any service. I said, well, look at the other side of the table. I mean, there are people there who have come to Krishna consciousness by coming out as volunteers to serve Krishna's Prasadam, and then started coming to the morning program and have moved in. There must be 4 or 5 people that have moved into the Brooklyn Temple this year from the ranks of the people working for the guest program with the Prasad distribution. And anyway, the people on the other side of the table, they're getting Krishna's mercy. And you see them becoming purified. And of course, over the course of years, we've seen people going from a condition of being homeless and dysfunctional and depressed or, addicted. We had one girl came to me and she said, I was living in that park. Everybody I knew was smoking something, shooting something, drinking something, snorting something, popping pills. Everybody was intoxicated. I was living in a cloud.
Yeah.
And then one day I found myself over by that table and somebody handed me a plate. And I was so covered over, I couldn't even see the face of who was on the other side of the table. But I heard them say, "This is for you." Nanda Bihari's daughter is serving. Go back. That's Ananda Bihari's daughter.
Right. She's in many of the pictures. She seems like she has a taste for serving.
Just jumps in and does service. When these kids come out there, they just, run faster and jump higher. They really take to it. It's so wonderful.
Yeah.
So I couldn't even see the face of the person on the other side. She said, but you know what? I felt, my impression was, it was like I don't know. I felt like somebody's reaching into this cloud that I'm living in. And they know I'm in here. And they're reaching out to me. Mm-hmm. She said, it was like an epiphany. She said, now I've been sober for 3 months. And I'm going to 12-step program. And I'm getting into spiritual life, but that plate of prasadam, that was a breakthrough for me. We just had one guest from Vermont. She's been coming and staying with us every year for a few days or a week. She has a restaurant. Actually, she first started staying with us when she was an NYU student, but now she has a restaurant in Vermont. And she brought her boyfriend with her this last time. And then they went back to Vermont, and the boyfriend called me up. He said, I was a heroin addict. And so I go to these Narcotics Anonymous meetings, and there's a guy in my meeting. I shared in the meeting that I was at Tompkins Square Park, and you were there with Adi. You were getting the food. You were getting the Krishna food. Oh, I used to go there when I was strung out. Oh, I've been sober for 10 years, but that helped me so much when I used to go there and get that. See, you have to see how prasadam works over the course of time.
Yeah.
We have people who have gone from being unemployed and homeless to the point of, becoming operational again, and prasadam is helpful. So it's not that they're not benefiting. First of all, they're just getting Krishna's mercy, which is, you can't even measure.
Yeah.
You have to have a little faith in prasadam. Jayananda used to say, prasadam. Get them some prasadam. Prabhupada would say, give them prasad, right? Radhanath Swami won't get in the car when they're driving him someplace unless they have some prasad in the car. They hand out if they stop at a street light and somebody's begging. He won't get in the car. You don't have prasad? I'm not getting in,
Wow.
We always carry something around with us too. And there are a lot of stories about, I was coming from the Bhakti Center and I was going to the guest program on 3rd Street. And there was this homeless guy, dirty. I mean, barefoot, black feet, dirty, matted hair, filthy clothes. And he was screaming and yelling. His whole mind so agitated, and I was on my bicycle. I went way around him because he was so agitated, And I got over to 3rd Street and I was putting out the breakfast for the guest program. And I felt like Krishna was saying, what about that guy? I was like, well, I prayed for him. I'm not going within 10 yards of that guy, I said, okay, Krishna. We had these from the donut plant. You ever see those cake donuts?
Yeah.
The little ones, the triple chocolate. I got a triple chocolate cake donut, and I put it in a napkin, And I went up back over to the corner. At that point, he was throwing a chair out in the middle of First Avenue, and people were crossing the street to get away from him, you know. And I was coming closer to him, and I was thinking, I'll just throw the donut at him. I just throw it at him. You know, I got a little closer. He was screaming and yelling. He was so caught up in his agitated mind, he couldn't even see me. I got really close. I said, "Sir, this is for you." And he stopped screaming, and he looked at that donut, and he said, thank you. And he took the donut and went and sat down and taken Prasadam.
Wow.
You know, the people that you can't be reached, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, myself, I crawled out from under a rock in this life, figuratively speaking, maybe literally. David Amrita Swami tells us some people that come into the human life from being in a dog body or a cow body or a monkey body before human. So they're coming up from the animal species. Some people come into the human body from the demigod level. Like the Japanese, they say they're descended from the sun god. The Chinese, we spent a lot of time doing Sankirtana, collecting donations in the Pacific Rim in Asia, in Taiwan, Kaohsiung, Korea. And you realize when you're talking to these people again and again and again, I spent 6 years collecting donations for the Bhakti Center in a city called Kaohsiung.
Really?
Every single avenue, every single street, every single alley, every single crack, crevice, every door, every floor, every body in the whole city. 6 years. I spoke to 350,000 people, one at a time, collecting donations to get the Bhakti Center building, right?
Wow.
And you get exposure to a culture that's on a higher level than what we have here in the West. You know, there's more subtle distinctions in their vocabulary. They're refined. You know, we're just definitely, you know, like I said, crawled out from under a rock compared to some of these people. And they're very, very sweet and very intelligent. And yeah.
Probably. Stepping back a little bit, you were in New Vrindavan for, you said, 4 years in the Brahmachari ashram, and then were you
and I was
there
asked to do Sankirtan, collecting donations.
Oh, so you were sent out.
Because I went there to avoid going out.
Yeah.
But then for the next 25 years, I was going out. Krishna is so clever. And I was not, you know, really that enthusiastic about that service. But I saw devotees. I was just talking to Dasarat this morning, one of my all-time devotee hero people, Bhima, Dasarat, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj. I saw them talking to people, Chediraj. I saw the people laughing and smiling and giving donations and thanking the devotee. You know, such a beautiful thing. And I thought, well, those guys, I've seen people do it in an inappropriate way, but these guys are really doing a wonderful service, and they're really happy and satisfied doing this service. But I could never do it. But gradually, Krishna showed me, you know, step by step, because it was my prescribed duty. If it wasn't my prescribed duty, I wouldn't have done it, and I wouldn't have stayed with it until we finished the learning curve. Or you never really finish; you're always getting better. I'll give you an example.
Sure.
When I came back from being overseas, back to New York, I started doing Sankirtan again here in New York City. So there are 2 baseball teams here in New York. So every day there's a baseball game.
Yeah.
And people come and they park. Shoop, 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 shoop. They park. And you stop and talk to each person when they come in, right? And basically, may I speak to you for a moment? And then you tell them what you're doing, and then you ask them for a donation. In other words, within 30 seconds, you say, devotional service, what do you think? Right?
Yeah.
Now, as soon as you ask for a donation, people look at you. At least one tiny glance, they look at you. And they want to know, do you really care about me, or you just want money? Are you exploiting me? Are you telling the truth? Do you really believe that Prabhupada is telling you what's real? Do you really believe in devotional service yourself? You know, people look at you. If you want them to reach in their pocket and take out their money and hand it to you, right? You have to start looking at yourself. Why am I out here? Do I really care about these people? Of course, I'm out here under the instruction of the spiritual master, but it's natural to care for them. And they sense that. And you get to the point where like 95 or 99% of the people that you talk to are giving a donation. But there's a dynamic. It's like when you take a hand grenade and you throw it over the wall, right? And then you don't know when you have to ask that how they're going to respond, but all kinds of stuff comes out. And some people say, okay. And some people ask a few questions, and some people really play hardball with you and they ask questions. So this is a classic example. Yankee Stadium, Krishna, baseball game. Cars are coming in. I'm out there for several hours during the incoming car. It's the second inning, so the game has already started, right?
Yeah.
Cars are still coming in. This guy comes in, a great big SUV. Great big guy, like a linebacker for the Green Bay Packers or something. Huge guy. And he's kind of disturbed. He's listening to the game on the radio. He's late for the baseball game. Maybe his friends are in there. So I go, sir, may I talk to you for a minute? What do you want? What are you doing out here? I was like, okay, forget it. This guy is I turned away. I was really tired. I was thinking I just have enough strength to talk to one more person. And then this guy screams at me. So I just turned around and started to walk away. He asked a question. You realize that?
Yeah, he asked a question. Yeah.
What are you doing out here? What do you want? I turned back. I said, sir, you asked me what we're doing. Will you allow me to answer that question? So he's running, scrambling, getting his stuff together to get out of the car. He's huffing and puffing. He goes, well, what? Well, all right. Well, what are you doing? I said, well, we're feeding some of the homeless people in the street on the Lower East Side of Manhattan. That's one level of what we're doing. At another level, we're inviting people to come and help to do the meal distribution. It's a service to God. So we're trying to give people a chance to do service to God. And that's another level. People are benefiting by serving. People are benefiting by getting this food, and people are benefiting by serving. And then on another level, here we are out here. You see all these cars stretching out to the horizon. I spoke to every single car. And we tell them what we're doing, and we ask them to give a donation. You see those kids over there, those two kids with the pickup truck, the 220-something smoking cigars? I approached them, and I said, gentlemen, we told them what we're doing. We asked them to give a donation. They went, buddy, we just spent $25 to park the car. It costs us $60 a piece for a ticket to go at the Yankee Stadium, to sit in the cheap seats up in peanut heaven. Every cup of beer we buy in there is going to cost $6. These cigars we're smoking cost $2 each. And after this, we're going to the nudie bar for the naked dance, and we're going to spend money there. And you want us to give you money. So I said to them, well, this is a little different. This is the best money you could spend all day, and this will come back to you in a wonderful way. This is good for you. This is in the service of God. And they gave a donation. So at first they were put off by the idea of giving something, but we spoke to them for a minute, and then they gave a donation. So this big guy goes, pulls his wallet out. He has a $5 bill and 3 singles in the wallet. Grabs old $8, shoves it over toward me, pulls it back, puts it back in the wallet, puts his wallet back in his back pocket, reaches into his shirt pocket, pulls out a $100 bill. He says, I'm giving this to you with both hands, and I'm sorry I spoke harshly to you. And thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to do this in God's name. That's the dynamic.
Yeah.
What's their first response? Their doubt, your faith. You're standing there toe to toe, right? You know why you're there. You know this is good for them. You're trying to give them a chance.
I feel like the most human thing is to do is to help someone in need, like from the real basic kind of needs of of a human person may have is like food, right? So to help someone in that way is, especially using prasadam, is like such a kind of like a very ground zero, like
Krishna's love.
grassroots thing you can do just to help like the people in your just general area. What would you say to someone
Can I
who
respond to that?
Yeah, please.
That man in that big SUV needed it as badly as that homeless people in the street. Everybody needs devotional service, whether they live in a penthouse or a cardboard box.
Yeah.
That's Krishna's love coming to them at every strata, right? Another guy, again, very fancy car, one of those, $45,000 Mercedes-Benz, pulls into the Mets stadium parking lot. I said, "Sir, may I speak to you for a moment?" What is it? What do you? I said, "Well, we're taking care of feeding the homeless people in the street, and we're asking if you give a donation." The hand grenade going over it. He says, "I have no idea who you are. I have no idea what you do with this money." I opened up my shoulder bag and I said, "We put it right in here." It's the oldest money. He laughed. I said, "Now listen to me. Now, when you go, before you approach people, before you approach every single person, we follow Prabhupada's footsteps and we say, Lord, I have no qualification to speak to this person. I'm here on your behalf. Show me what to say. Let me dance as you like." So what came out of my mouth for that guy with the Mercedes when he said, "I don't know, I have no idea. I may never see you again in my life." And Krishna gave me this to say, which surprised me because Krishna gives you things to say. I said, "Sir, at the time of death, I'll be there to say he gave a donation. And the keys to your Mercedes will do you no good at that point."
Wow. That's a grenade.
I know, that was after the grenade. That's what
grenade.
the response to the explosion that comes from them. So that there were three guys coming out of the car next to him. And when they heard that, they all gave donations. And then the guy with the Mercedes gave the donation.
Wow.
But when you can only swim, you learn to swim in the water. When you're out there and you're approaching people and you're reaching out to them and you're totally vulnerable. Now, I was in Kaohsiung and everything is in Chinese, right? And we went to every single door, every single office, every single house, every single store, every street, every alley, every crack, every crevice. So I went in this one door. I didn't know it was the immigration police. I went into the office of the immigration police chief, right? And he's got this big desk, and then there was this little desk. So I went to the guy at the little desk first. And I said, we're distributing Krishna's Prasadam, and we're building a temple in New York City, and we're asking if you'll give a donation. And he said, "I don't want to talk to you. But my boss, he wants to talk to you. He's the chief of the immigration police. Laban!" And so he points to me this is my introduction to the chief of immigration police, his subordinate points me to them. So I walked over to the big desk and I said, "May I speak to you for a moment?" He goes, "Yes. What are you doing?" I said, "We're distributing Krishna's Prasadam and we're building a temple in New York City. And we're asking if you'll give a donation." He said, "Yesterday, I put somebody," hold on a minute. He dials his phone. These two police officers come to the front door of the office, a glass door, and they're dangling the handcuffs outside the door. And he tells them to wait a minute. He says, "Just yesterday, I had somebody arrested for doing just what you're doing. What do you think you're doing? Come to my country asking my people for money. What do you think you're doing here? You can't do this." What mistake did he make, Amras?
His country.
He asked a question.
Oh. Oh, I love it. Yeah, he has a question.
Why do you think you can do this? What do you think you're doing? Right? So I laugh inside when they ask a question.
Yeah.
I said, sir, will you allow me to answer that question? Then they realize they asked a question, right?
Oh, I love it.
So he's thinking, go ahead. After you speak, I'm going to cut your throat. He's looking, he goes, yeah, let's see what you have to say. I said, now listen carefully. I'll tell you what. I've done Sankirtana in the United States, which is basically a Judeo-Christian culture.
Right.
So a lot of people, they imbibe biblical things from their mother's knee, so to speak. Now, this is a Buddhist country, right? I just happen to have, by Krishna's arrangement, Dhammapad in my shoulder bag. I pull out the Dhammapad. I say, you see this book? This is one of the Buddhist sutras. I said, yes. I opened the book. Now, Evangel had translated all the different shlokas in there into English, right? What shloka did I open up to in the book? I said, do you believe this book? He said, yes. I look at the verse. The verse says, better to eat a red-hot molten iron ball than to misuse the alms collected in the name of the Dharma. Right?
Wow.
That's a cool verse, isn't it?
Yeah.
Better to eat a red-hot molten iron ball, than to misuse the alms, the donations given in the name of the Dharma. I said, do you believe this? He looks at it, he goes, yes. I said, do I look so stupid that I would eat a red-hot iron ball? I said, it's not easy for me to come away from my family, away from my friends, away from my country, halfway around the world to a foreign country where I don't really speak the language. But my master wants me to go to everyone. He wants me to understand that you are as much my brother as the one who has the same mother that I do. He wants me to understand that and care for you and care about you and talk to you and show you God's love. And not only that, when you give a donation or anybody gives a donation, they benefit. That will come back to them in a wonderful way, beyond their dreams, because we're not misusing what we're collecting. I said, I collect a lot of money, but we don't use it for ourselves. I have very simple clothing. I have a very simple place to live and sleep on the floor. I'm a vegetarian. I don't eat anything but vegetables. And we collect the money, then we give it back to society in the form of temples, in the form of literature, in the form of benefiting the poor.
Mm-hmm.
So we collect it and we give it back. We don't take it for ourselves. And my guru, my master, he wants me to become humble because he knows I'm puffed up. I'm very proud. And to come as a beggar is something very humbling. And so we humbly ask you to give a donation. He was like, folded his arms. Pulled out his wallet. He said, I'm giving you a donation. I'm giving you $200. And thank you very much for coming here to benefit the people in our country. And I'm giving you another $200 for my stupid assistant who didn't even give you the benefit to listen to what you had to say.
Wow.
He will benefit also. And then he went like this to the guys with the handcuffs outside the door. I said,
Amazing.
oh, glory to Prabhupada. Thank you very much. So this is like, brahmachari, right? Brahmachari. Lives in the house of the spiritual master only for the sake of the spiritual master's mission, should go out morning and evening, collect alms for his guru's mission. Right?
Right.
Why do they go out to collect alms? To get money?
No.
to learn to have the courage and the faith to approach people with humility and confidence to benefit the people. Because if you don't think that those people will benefit, you don't have any business going out there collecting donations. Right?
Right.
Now, this is something I didn't understand, but Krishna sent me out to do Sankirtana, which was my service for decades. And even now, I ask people for donations. I'm going to ask you right now for a donation. Now, Ras Prabhu, would you like to give a donation for Krishna's Prasad Distribution for the homeless?
Definitely.
See that?
I'd love to.
Don't thank me.
How can I do it?
What?
How can I do it?
Look at the Instagram. There's a way to PayPal and connect like that. But the thing is, if you desire to do it, Krishna will show you. And it's not a bad thing. In our movement, we're a little shy about that these days.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we got a bad name for collecting donations in the airport with flowers and books,
Right.
No. If anybody who's ever done that as a book distributor, as a donation collector, they know. You talk to 100 people, and the people are grateful that you're reaching out to them. And you get a few weirdos that respond inappropriately, but they're stupid. And you got to expect not everybody's going to be capable of understanding, but we're trying to explain it to them. And that's the point. Until you bring up the subject of devotional service and they ask a question, they don't have any questions before that. Yeah, that's good. That's the
donate link.
Yeah, unto the least.
If you want to get to that link, you can go to the Instagram and then there's a link there. But if you want, when this airs, I'll actually put it in the comments so it's clickable. But if you want to donate to Adi Purusa Prabhu's project,
it's not my project.
I mean,
it's like a knife in my heart. This is
no, I'm sorry.
Krishna's Prasad Distribution.
Krishna's Prasad Distribution. Then please donate here, and I will love to donate. I will donate right after we finish recording this.
Yeah, good, and it'll come back to you. I believe that it'll come back to you in a wonderful way beyond your dreams.
I want to elaborate on something that you said. You said that you have no business approaching people for donations if you don't think that it will, like, your main thing is not benefiting them.
Right.
Can you elaborate on that?
As soon as you get a little fruitive, as soon as you start thinking, my score, my money, I'm gonna be getting praise for doing. As soon as you think grossly or subtly that it's for you, it's spoiled. Pour a little gasoline in a cake mix. Forget it. It's not the same.
Yeah.
Right? It's a sacrifice to Vishnu. What are the duties of the Brahmin?
Charity.
6 duties. What are they?
To teach the.
I'll help you.
Yeah.
First duty is to study the Shastra.
Right.
Which you have done. The second thing is to teach what you've studied. And you are doing that logarithmically, amazingly. People are astounded at the quality. I remember when you were in the Brahmachari ashram in Radha Muralidar's temple for 2 years with us, several hours every morning. And then when you moved out, a lot of nice devotees there. I think we already said this, but I'll say it again. At breakfast that morning, people said, Nam Ras isn't here. Why should we even bother to have a morning program? Maybe we should just all stay in bed.
I never heard that.
Oh, well, you heard it now.
Wow.
And everybody else heard it too, because you have an impact on people. So the first duty is to study the scripture, and then is to preach what you've heard.
Yeah.
The third duty is to engage in worship. To build temples and worship deities. And the fourth one is to include other people, train them to have that experience and that discipline of worship and to experience what it's like to worship. So we study and teach, we worship, and we bring other people into worship. And then there's the last 2 duties of the Brahmin. The Brahmin is meant to go out and to interface and to interact with the populace and encourage them, inspire them to give a donation. It's a duty. Inspire them, encourage them to give a donation. then they benefit from all your sadhana and everything you use the Lakshmi for.
Right.
It will come back to them. All those 350,000 people that I talked to and that gave donation through me for the Bhakti Center, they're still benefiting today because the worship is going on, the preaching is going on. They're still benefiting.
Mm.
It's unbelievable what benefit Krishna gives. Krishna is so wonderful. Can you say how wonderful is Krishna?
How wonderful is Krishna?
Yeah. Krishna is so wonderful that he blesses people and that he allows us to carry his blessings to them in the form of prasadam or in the form of the performing arts or the graphic arts illustrating the principles of revealed scripture, or in the form of literature, or in the form of an opportunity to give a donation. And I've personally seen hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people give a donation and say, thank you very much, after they gave the donation.
Wow.
And like I said, in the movement, there's a little bit of a, well, we shouldn't do that because we should do something a little more low profile because, the government, they didn't like it and something happened at New Vrindavan and, then, for God's sake, there's a good way to do it and a bad way to do it. And, I believe I'm ready to stand before anybody who spoke to me before and gave a donation and say, here I am. Here's where I live. Follow me around all day,
Right.
and see what I'm doing with my time
Amazing.
and my energy by Krishna's grace, by Prabhupada's grace.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so we made that little prayer to Srila Prabhupada in the beginning of the class. I believe all the stuff that's coming out, it's not stuff I have to say. I don't have anything to say, but this is stuff that Prabhupada Krishna's giving me to say.
Yeah. I want to end with two things, Prabhu. One is I have a question, and then secondly, I want to leave some time for singing, for hearing you. But the question is that for people listening to this, if they want to start in their own area a Prasadam distribution program like you're doing have been
Talk
doing
to me. I'll help them.
24 years. How like, besides talking to you, what would kind of be the first step?
Chant the holy name. Listen to Prabhupada's voice. How much time do we have left?
About 10 minutes.
Prabhupada's voice. You can hear Prabhupada saying, give them prasad. Can you hear that? You've heard that before? Give them prasad.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah.
I had an experience once hearing Prabhupada's voice. It was quite mystical. I don't know if you'll believe this. I don't know if it was my imagination or just my memory, or actually, I believe I've actually heard his voice. We were going to do a preaching program, and we drove up, another devotee and myself, in the van. And this house that we were preaching at, it was a big house, and they had a big front lawn, and they had all these people out in front chanting Kirtana, Krishna, Hare Krishna. Amazing, really wonderful. So the other devotee got out of the vehicle with these Gauri Thai deities. I told you this story, right? No? Walks up the sidewalk to the front house. Everybody's chanting. And the lady of the house goes, and somebody brings out a big chair. So the devotee with the deities sits down in the chair. Then the lady goes, and her kids come out. And they have a big silver bowl and a pitcher and a towel over the arm. And the devotee realizes they're going to wash the feet, right? I had the privilege of washing Radhanath Swami's feet when he first came into the Bhakti Center. It's a way of really, receiving an honored guest,
Right.
Humbly washing the feet, right? So the devotee jumps up from the chair with the deities, goes running back to the van. I'm not worthy, I'm not worthy, I'm not worthy. Jumps in the van, closes the door, locks the door, and pulls the curtain. And the kirtan stops. And I'm standing there. Oh, my God. And then this lady looks at me and goes, Adi. She points to the chair. So, of course, I was thinking, I'm going back to the van too,
Right.
I heard Prabhupada's voice. He said, you accept this on my behalf. It was very stern. You accept this on my behalf. I sat down in the chair, and this beautiful Indian lady with jasmine flowers in her hair and a gold filigree sari. She kneels down on the ground in front of me while I'm sitting in the chair. She takes off my socks. She starts washing my feet with warm milk in front of, and the kirtan starts up again. and then she starts drinking the milk as it's coming off my feet. And I'm like, oh, Krishna. I was thinking, okay, this is improper. So I went back to Vrindavan and I told Kirtananda what happened. He said, see, if we reject it thinking it's for me, or if we accept it thinking it's for me, it's the same damn thing. It's not for you, right?
Yeah.
Right? When I praise you, you say, oh, glory to Radhanath Swami, right?
Yeah.
When somebody praise me, I say, glory to Prabhupada. When you go to the bank and you go to give $100, oh no, I cannot take it. It's not for you, stupid. You're supposed to put it in the drawer. Don't be ridiculous, you know. So we're going to do good things, and people are going to appreciate it. They're going to praise us, but we must say, all glories to Prabhupada, and we must accept it. We must go out and ask for donations. And it's for our purification. We become purified, the people benefit, and Lakshmi comes in. Lakshmi loves to run and jump in Krishna's arms, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't she?
Yes.
All right.
Amazing. Thank you, Prabhu.
Did I answer your question or did I get off track there?
No, you did. You did. And if you want to get in touch with Adi Purusa Prabhu, I'm going to put your email up there also.
Put my phone number too. I answer my phone day and night, 24/7.
Right. Give me a second here. Prabhu, maybe you can get ready to sing something. for
Music?
us.
All right.
Yeah. So there's his email there on the bottom there for audio listeners is adi108ny@yahoo.com. So Adi Purusa Prabhu also, like I said, wonderful singing of the English, of the songs in English. And I'd love to hear that. Maybe we can start with Jai Radha Madhava.
Okay. You know, that prayer that we sang was written by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur.
Yes.
This is a guitar somebody gifted me. I'm not.
Sounds good.
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Oh, I can't really get this. This is really an adjustment here, sitting on this soft thing. I'm not sure if I can do this. This is a. I'll keep trying. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Kirivardhan Hari. You want it in English? Within Vrindavan's woods and groves, Krishna and Radha unite to taste the joy of spiritual love. Oh, glories to this holy sight. Within Vrindavan woods and groves, Krishna and Radha unite to taste the joy of spiritual love. Oh, glories to this holy sight. Krishna's beauty thrills the soul, defeating even Cupid's dart. The boy who lifted Govardhan has won away the gopis' hearts. Yashoda Mata's darling son Jamuna River's pride and joy, the treasure of all devotees. All glories to this cowherd boy. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Beautiful. Wow, I haven't heard that in a really long time. I love it. And also, please, Nishingadev praise.
Oh no. You remember the words?
Not all of them. I just want to hear you.
All glories to Sringadev.
Prahlad finds joy in you alone.
Prahlad finds joy in you alone. You kill, you run, you Kasipu. Your nails like chisels cut in stone. Sringadev.
Sringadev.
Let me hear you growl there. All glories to Sringadev. Prahlad find joy in you alone. You kill, you run, you Kasipu. Your nails like chisels cut in stone. Sringadev is everywhere, within my heart and outside too. O source of all, O great refuge. May we surrender unto you. The beauty of your lotus hands, each wondrous nail sharp as a sword. The wasp, Hiranyakasipu, was ripped apart by these my lord. All glories to the Sringadev. Prahlad find joy in you alone. You kill, you run, you Kasipu. Your nails like chisels cut in stone. What was it? It's been a long time since I've sung that too.
Really?
Glories to the Sringadev. Prahlad find joy in you alone. You kill, you run, you Kasipu. Your nails like chisels cut in stone. The beauty of your lotus hands, each wondrous nail sharp as a sword. The wasp, Hiranyakasipu, is ripped apart by these my lord. Okay, Shiva, O Lord Hari, all glories to this form sublime. Have man, have lion, God of all, you rule the worlds through endless time. The Sringadev is everywhere, within my heart
And outside too.
source of all
Great
great
refuge.
May we surrender
Unto you. And this is the part where all the brahmacharis jump on one person and pretend they're running.
especially when he doesn't know it's coming. You know, it's so funny.
Oh, I find it so sweet to sing the song.
And when we're leading up to it, people would be looking at each other like eyeballing that guy, that guy.
That guy. Yeah, we're gonna get that guy. Oh my god, amazing.
Some people are just out and out guests, right? They've never been to a temple before, and all of a sudden 5 or 6 brahmacharis jump on them and start.
Oh my gosh. Well, Adi Prabhu, it has been fantastic hearing about your story, your journey. I didn't even know all the things that you told me about how you came to New York, originally started in New York, but then ended up in New York again. And your amazing project. I know not your project, but Srila Prabhupada's instruction to you. And hearing you sing again after so many years, it's just so, it brings back so many wonderful memories.
Prabhupada says beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. Not everybody responds to what we have to say the same way you do. Some people feel like.
But if you want to get in touch with Adi Purusa Prabhu again, please.
But you can put my phone number in there too. You'll be.
Yeah, I'll put that in the chat when this airs. But you can contact him there. Thank you again, Prabhu, for joining me.
Hare Krishna. All glories to Prabhupada.
All glories to Prabhupada. Thank you. Prabhu, please stay on. I'm just going to turn off the recording.
Krishna Hare